there. These back seats need to come out if you're going to do that while this was still on the ground. So there's two 12 mils down here. And then that is going to be to get these seat cushions off. And then there's three more underneath the seat cushion itself. And then you pull up and out and you'll have both of these gone. I'm just going to leave this right on the carpet. Love it to death. Just the initial torque that you need. Last one right here. All right, I'm gonna grab the impact and zip these off. Easy. Pull it out. Come on. There we go. Oh. There we go. I didn't have to detach anything. Just put it over the head. So we're gonna get the car up in the air, jack stand underneath the rear end, wheels off. So now we're gonna break loose the 219s that are on there. I've slid out the brake clip just to see how it works, so there shouldn't be any brake lines on there. And then we'll go inside and drop the suspension. So we put this on this side. Take some of that pressure. I should be able to break this loose. Fingers crossed relatively easily. Yeah, there it is. Bottom one, and then we'll grab the impacts. All right, so what we're looking at here is the top hat to the suspension. So just like you saw in the front, there's also a top hat in the rear. It's not easy to get a shot of. There's really no good way to watch me get these out of here, so I'm just gonna throw you right over my shoulder. Keep an eye on the progress. Finish dropping these bolts and we'll pull the suspension down. So once I had the 3 bolts off the top hat completely loose, the suspension pretty much fell right out. I didn't get an extra set of top hats for the rear. The factory ones typically in the rear don't take as much of a beating. These do actually look relatively new. They might have been done when they got into the springs. But I don't have a spring compressor, so I'm going to do what you were very much not supposed to do. And I'm going to impact this off and just aim it in a direction and hope nothing horrible happens. Alright, let's do it! Look at that, no drama. There was no tension on it. So with factory springs, you're supposed to compress them, and I was trying to be cautious, but all for naught, nothing to worry about. Sweet, we'll reuse this guy here and toss on the new shock and strut. Alright, so I've realized that these are designed to work with an aftermarket top hat. This factory looking top hat sits a little too high. I could cut it down, but then it would kind of be rubber seated in rubber. I think this is designed for something different. So I'm actually going to reuse this entire top hat. It shouldn't make a difference. The damping should still be adjustable above and through. So that's all I really care about. Now let's set up the height. I don't want to drop the rear end too far. We'll look at the specs and then of what my previous springs were and what the minimum drop in, maximum drop on this is, and then set it from there. Should have done that first, it would have made my life a lot easier here just now, but that's alright. Alright, so those old drop springs dropped the vehicle an inch. These start at 1 inch and go to 1.8. I dropped the front about probably an extra ½ an inch. So I'm going to bring this down and try and hit about 1.5 inches. So again, it's not exact science. I'm going to bring it down halfway, lock it, count the threads, and then I'll do that on the other side. I am going to lock this into place. And a tip, if you're ever doing these and you have a lock, make sure you lock it in line with the mounts here, because that's the side that faces out. That's it. That's it right there. No squeaks or clunks. That's what we needed. Alright. I didn't damage the shock body at all, which is good. Perfect. Alright, let's get this back in the rear. Right, so next up, we need to put the bolts back through the bottom of the suspension. Probably going to do the jack trick again. Try and get this up far enough to reach. and then feed these through and air hammer them down. Hung the top. My wonderful assistant wife helped me with that. And yeah, we'll be pretty much good to go. Just tighten down the top hat after that completely and should be done. Guy here. Back a little bit more. Should be able to drop this and get a little bit of play out of it. Yeah. Well, just gonna find our way home. Now that I've actually gotten these to feed through, I am going to impact everything back together. Everything's tightened up here, and then I'll go do those top hats. Looks like I'm not going to be able to use air in here. I'll do it this way. Oh. Going anywhere. Okay, so that's the bottom all mounted up. Need to count the threads for the other side. I forgot to do that. I'm gonna snug up the top, throw the seats back in, and then I'll be pretty much all set. Just finished up the other side. I'm gonna drop the car back down here, tighten up the wheel, drop it back down, and call it a night. I think that'll be everything. We'll see how it sits. Having to use those factory top hats may have screwed me. It may have raised it up by half an inch, so if so, I can try and adjust it down if I like where it's at. It's fine, it'll ride fine. If not, we'll have to figure out a different solution for the top hats in general, see what other people have done. So I'm gonna impact these on real quick and then drop the car and we'll be good to go. Probably 2 fingers worth of wheel gap, maybe just over a finger of wheel gap. Those top hats might be screwing me. If I can bring the rear suspension down, I had a lot of 19 threads left, so the 1-inch drop, maybe adjust quite an adjustment too. So we'll bring the rears down, I think, a bit. We'll see when it all settles, but I'm gonna toss the rear seat back in, and we'll be done for the night. That'll be it, suspension installed. Alright, that's me finished up with the coilover install. It went well, it went a lot better than when I had to deal with the brakes. A couple of things I learned: the concentric holes that you use to adjust, I think it's camber or caster. Makes sense for it to be camber. We're gonna go with camber. They're used for the alignment. They can be on either side. It seems like when I bought the suspension, I was kind of upset because the factory wheels have them, or the factory suspension has it set on a certain side, so I figured it would match and it didn't. And when I was initially trying to put it back together, it wasn't really going. But it does seem like the hub, the brake hub, can accept the bolt on either side. It just takes some muscling. So there was that. The back seat is a pain in the ass. It's kind of a pain to get back in. I was surprised at the amount of work I had to put in just to get it aligned right. It's not a huge deal. It was just, you finish, you get the whole thing on the ground, and the last thing you want to do is dick with the back seat. The rear suspension went pretty easily. There wasn't much I really had to worry about. It's kind of silly to have to take out a back seat. A lot of cars, sedans that I've owned, you go in through the trunk and they're mounted there, but obviously everybody is different. Like every body style, every physical car is going to be a little bit different in that way. So getting those 12 mils on the top hats for the suspension was a real nightmare. But I did eventually get it done. I recommend if you're doing this to it's one 14 mil bolt to pull out the receiver for the seatbelt. Just pull that out and it makes it so much easier to get to the top hats themselves. I wish I didn't have to reuse the rear top hats. I was concerned about what they would do to the ride height, but it looks pretty good. I don't think it's keeping it up too high. The actual structure of the initial, what was I talking about? Sit on, I have one right here. Right, so it's aluminum with a rubber bearing where the spring will sit in. It's not really a bearing, but like a rubber mount. And the spring does slide into the factory one fine, so you don't really need that. My concern was the there's essentially extra rubber up here, but I have 19.5 threads on each side to go, and it's already plenty low for me, so that's awesome. I'm really happy that even though I didn't do rear top hats, and I would recommend buying them just to replace them while you're in there, everything seemed to work out well. So when I did the brakes, it was a real nightmare, just because there was a lot of unexpected stuff. But in this case, nothing unexpected happened. I'm really happy with the way everything turned out. I haven't road tested it yet. I'm exhausted. I'm just finishing cleaning up. I rolled it out into my driveway and back, and no scrapes, no serious rubbing. There's a little bit of rubbing on the plastic over some nasty bumps out there. Still might need a little trimming or rolling of fenders type thing, but nothing to complain about. Pretty stoked about how it rides. It rides really, really well. It feels like a completely different car. The factory suspension, when you do lowering springs, you're fatiguing it. They're not designed. Subaru spent a lot of money designing factory suspension in these things, and they're not designed to sit that much lower. So it will definitely fatigue and eventually ruin your suspension. Riding with these STs feels really good. I know I haven't gone far, but it seems to feel really, really good. And let's cross off another thing from our list. So that's coilovers done. Next up, we're gonna get an alignment. I kind of want to start doing a little bit of the cosmetic stuff. I need to fix said fenders, but it's where the fender meets the front bumper. We'll do that. I have some STI fog covers that we'll put on. What else is there? Cosmetic wise, we'll do the HIDs, and that'll be fun. And then we can do that while we're waiting for the alignment, because it might take a little while to get into the alignment. Then after that, we'll do the exhaust and the intake, work the air pump delete and the tune, and really there's only the short shifter left after that. We're pretty much there. All right, that's it. Let's drink some beers. That's the suspension done. Tune in next time for some exhaust and engine work. Thanks for watching Epic Motoring. If you enjoyed the content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons below.